Down goes South Carolina. In this video, we will recap UCLA's 77-62 victory over South Carolina, what it means. Basically, we'll give UCLA their flowers. In addition, we will take a look at South Carolina and what ails them, as it's pretty clear they have a disease. It's not as bad as COVID, but it's not good if you're trying to win basketball games, and Dr. Staley is taking drastic steps to heal South Carolina. But before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. So let's start this by giving UCLA their flowers. I thought Dawn Staley said it best. They did to us what we usually do to other teams, and that was quite correct on her part. And I could give you numbers until you're blue in the face, but overall, UCLA was just bigger, more physical in the front court, and more aggressive and forced more turnovers in the back court. And generally, that is what South Carolina does to other teams. They get in your face, they cause turnovers, they get in transition, and then any available rebound they get. And to put it in even simpler terms, UCLA had Lauren Betts and South Carolina didn't. Much like Gino Auriemma said, we have Diana Taurasi and you don't. That's why we're going to win. And essentially, South Carolina has lost their cheat code, which is Camilo Cardoso, and prior to that, Aaliyah Boston. And they're having to learn how to play without a super dominant center in the middle. And the impact of that is clear. I mean, one telling stat, at the rim, South Carolina shot 31%, going 6 of 19. In the paint, they were 2 of 17. And obviously, that's just because UCLA is so big inside. So you have Betts, and then they always have a second big on. So they switch out Duglic and Barker for each other. Barker brings a little bit more athleticism. Duglic can shoot the 3 ball. In addition, they have Tamia Gardner at the 4. So it's just so much size and so much talent up front, which is usually the domain of South Carolina. And you thought maybe the one kryptonite for UCLA would be their backcourt if they didn't hit shots. And maybe Arnicello would struggle with pressure, and she did not. She was a rock. Staley even said after the game, I was hoping they wouldn't start her, as I saw her on film, and she concerned me. And she is just a very steady player that can hit the outside shot. Ledger Walker, I'm sure they're saying, just take your time with that knee injury. We got this covered. Because Arnicello gives them precisely what they need. It looks so good, her and Kiki Rice next to each other, because she just brings a little bit extra shooting. And Betts was talking about it. Just Rice is a nice, steady influence on that team. So if you were handing out game balls, obviously Betts gets one for keeping her composure as they were fronting her and making life tough. But she was willing to pass the ball out and use her teammates. Hopefully the University of Southern California was watching that game, as that's where Juju Watkins and her teammates need to get, where she's able to utilize the other 4 players to take the pressure off of her. Gabrielle Jaquez was good, cutting to the basket as well. Obviously, London Jones had herself a game, hitting 5 3-pointers without a miss. Corey Close as well should probably get a game ball. She was euphoric in the post-game press conference. She's always good in press conferences. Giving flowers to the press and to South Carolina and everybody, and just generally appreciative. You can't help but not like Corey Close. Like, she's just very likable. But the question does linger, at least for me, is show me what you will do at the end of the season. I want to see UCLA when their 3-pointers aren't shooting. What is their fallback? How do they adjust? How do they manage it? Because you're not going to shoot 47% from the floor and 47% from 3 every single night. Now let's go to the other locker room if you like. The losing locker room is always more interesting. And as I mentioned, I think South Carolina has a bit of a disease going on. The one that first discovered this disease was Pat Riley, and he termed it the disease of me. And he was talking about after teams win championships, everybody just wants a little bit for themselves. And with South Carolina, I think this is developed because there's a little bit of a vacuum in the absence of Camilo Cardoso. Like, she makes everything look better, just takes pressure off, much like how UCLA could shoot free and easy when you know you have the big in there. It just makes life easier. Well, they've lost that as well. There are more shots to be had by other players, and they're trying to figure out who is going to take those shots and what is a good shot. Dawn Staley talked about this.
So we're just working through that. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for everybody because Camilla's gone. The opportunities that she had, they're just wide open now, and everybody feels like they're, they want them all. But it's learning. Like, it's cool. Like, I don't like it, but I like the process of learning and growing and figuring it out, and then have our players look a lot better than they're looking individually and then collectively as a team.
Just saying, they're having issues with players not taking good shots. And I'm sure the big debate, well, it's funny. In the press conference, nobody asked Staley, why was Fulwiley limited to 3 minutes? But I think it's pretty obvious why she was limited. If you listen to the sound of Staley in the pregame press conference.
I think for us, I just want us to play a little bit more fluid offensively, more efficient. We don't take very good shots, and our shooting percentage reflects that. So we got to take better shots. We got to take momentum shots. We are giving momentum away with the type of shots that we're taking to our opponent. They're getting out in transition, and it's too hard. Like, we shouldn't be that hard to score baskets.
And Fulwiley is a big culprit of this. And in her limited time, the 3 shots she took, first was a bad layup attempt, going for the superstar play that looks great when it comes off, but it didn't. Then Fulwiley had a bad turnover, and then another bad shot, and Staley had seen enough and said, nah, you can sit down and watch. Freshman Maddie McDaniel, even though she's getting torched on defense by Arnicello, at least she is not taking bad shots. And then the other culprit of this was Chloe Kitts. She didn't play well in the first half, and she did not start the third quarter. I don't know if that was a message or not at the time. It could have been that Staley just wanted to have both Watkins and Fagan in there together to get more physical on bets potentially. But Kitts did eventually enter the game at the 3:46 mark in the third quarter, and then Kitts went to the bench at the 1:48 mark in the third quarter and did not return after taking a really bad shot. And I think the message is clear that's being sent by Staley. Don't take bad shots. We are not good enough now. You need to get open shots. The other thing she mentioned, if you are open, if the team is intentionally leaving you open, there's probably a reason, and it's probably not a good shot for you to take.
I mean, for us, a good shot is in rhythm. That's 1. 2, rebounding position. So we got people out down there rebounding. Give us a shot to get an offensive rebound, and then if whoever has a hot hand, let's keep feeding them. But if you're open 2 times down, they're not guarding you. Like, you're gonna be open for the entire possession. So let it run a little bit, and then if it comes back, lock, load, and shoot that thing.
And overall, I think Staley sees this game as lose the battle but win the war, which will be in March, essentially. Get her team into better habits and try to whip them into shape and to develop them so that they move the ball around and play team basketball. She will still mix and match to try to work out what their best lineup is. Can Raven get back on track? She hit a 3-pointer, but she has not been good early on in the season. In this game, Raven only got 16 minutes. Tessa Johnson got 24 minutes. Maddie McDaniel got 20 minutes. And, of course, Fulwiley, as I mentioned before, only got 3 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see if this is just a shot across the bow or if Raven is going to have her minutes limited until she starts playing better. And will Tessa Johnson be the beneficiary of that, as she and Tahina Paopao get the majority of the minutes in the backcourt to be determined? I think in the front court, I think it's going to be Ash Watkins and Chloe Kitts, as that's just a good fit together, and then Fagan coming off the bench. But to be determined. My final question for UCLA and South Carolina fans: which team would you rather have in March? Would you rather have UCLA that looks so dominant, or are you still concerned about UCLA's past and not being able to get by the Sweet 16? And does that make you nervous as a UCLA fan? And are you confident as a South Carolina fan that in Dawn we trust. She will figure it out, and we will be back in the Final Four and championship game. I'll leave it over to you. All your comments, your poison, it's all welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.